Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for all your work. And my apologies for not being here yesterday. I had to be in the Convention Centre on the Social Welfare Bill, so my apologies. I'm glad that Deputy Hourigan went through the tuck shop issues, because I can set those aside and just ask you questions on other matters, if you don't mind. I've been working with prison reform and penal reform for a very, very long time, and I'm really interested in it. And I'm particularly interested in the community release projects and the work to help train and develop and give people real rehabilitation opportunities. Can I just check in on a few things that my information might be slightly out of date, and just ask you, if you don't mind, on the community release programme, how is that going? What are the numbers on it now, and what's the success rate? Last I heard it was at 90%. It was fantastic. How is it going now?
The numbers aren't quite as high as they were, but I might ask Ms McCaffrey. Sorry, as I just...
No, that's okay. Are the terms essentially the same? It hasn't changed. It's for people.
Well, we made one slight amendment. So, I mean, it's one of the most successful programmes that we've introduced. Prisoners can swap prison time for time spent in the community under probation supervision, doing very important community service work in the community. The levels of engagement and the levels of adherence to the terms continue to be very high. So we still see a 90% success rate of completing it. And where somebody doesn't complete it, they can be recalled to custody. We did make one change. So we found that in 2018 and 2019, our prisoner numbers were growing. So the way the scheme works at the moment is, if you're serving between 1 to 8 years, you become eligible at half of your remitted, at half of your full sentence. We changed that for prisoners serving between 1 and 3 years, so that they can become eligible at half of their remitted sentence, so that they can potentially avail of an earlier release and engage in a community level. Because we know where people go out, particularly under probation supervision, and where they have support, they are less likely to reoffend, and we're less likely to see them coming into custody.
Oh, I know quite a lot of the detail. But one of the things that might be interesting is, at this point, it's in operation so long. Have you got data, or can we discuss it another time, about the long-term effect, or the long-term, the assessment of how it has worked in terms of longer-term recidivism and so on?
We've actually been engaging with the CSO specifically in relation to that. So obviously we get statistics in relation to recidivism, and the CSO do quite a significant amount of work for both the prison service and the probation service. We have been engaging with them to look specifically at particular programmes and whether or not a prisoner's involvement in that programme has reduced reoffending.
Yes, because there are plenty of other factors as well.
Community return is one. Another one we're looking at is the Red Cross programme. So very important programme, and I have to credit all of the Red Cross volunteers working in our prisons in relation to COVID-19, because they've been central to our success. We're engaging with the CSO to see, is a person's engagement, training as a Red Cross, acting as an advocate and a peer mentor within a prison, does that have a positive impact? And I can only imagine that it does when they go back to their community. So,
because I was wondering, sorry, I'm so sorry, the time is so short. But because the last time I was in Mount Joy, for example, that had just been introduced, and there was a sort of a prisoner advocacy programme, and one of the big effects was essentially the near eradication of hepatitis C as a consequence of the training in relation to that. It was absolutely fantastic.
It's a phenomenal programme, and I really want to pay credit to the Red Cross and our Red Cross volunteers. So the work they're doing at the moment within our communities around infection control, around ensuring prisoners are informed of what's going on. It's been really, really critical to our success in keeping COVID out of our prisons.
May I ask you just, there's another really project, the bicycle repair project in Wheatfield that Eddie Darcy and the Compass project we're trying, the Solace Compass project we're trying to engage in. How is that, or did that get further? Do you know? This is specifically for young offenders. Obviously, we're concerned about that 18 to 24-year-old group, looking at potentially a second JARC for young offenders. But, being able to do the Solace project in the community is one thing, but being able to continue it while in Wheatfield is really important. Is there any progress on that?
We've engaged with the Solace project. We've brought them in for the last number of years in relation to engaging with Eddie and his team and working with those groups, because Wheatfield is our designated centre to receive transfers, as you know, from Oberstown. So we see it as very important that transition is handled well, that we have staff who are skilled up to work with that particular group of young offenders, because when they come over from Oberstown, they are very young.
Children.
The department now are looking at the whole area of a youth justice policy, and the prisons are directly involved in that. And what we want to ensure is that we continue to develop bespoke programmes for young offenders, up to 24 ideally. But it does require an intensification of resources. It does require a changed regime within the prison, a higher emphasis on family support and education. But it's something we are committed to. And as I'm sure the Secretary-General will say, it's a particular objective that's currently being rolled out by the Department.
I know this is more expensive, you know, and you may be asked about it in a future Public Accounts Committee, but it'd be money very well spent in my view. But thank you for your 5 minutes.
Thank you.